Hello and welcome to Kentucky Today, where we talk about stories that appeared in Kentucky Today about Baptists, for Baptists, and beyond, as reported on our website of the Kentucky Baptist Convention, Kentucky Today. I'm Lawrence Smith, the editor of Kentucky Today, and joining me, as usual, Mark Maynard, our managing editor, and Chip Hutchinson, our content editor for Kentucky Today. Well, guys, it's been a big couple of days in Murray, Kentucky. Our mission board met at First Baptist Church Murray, the church that began the Unified Giving Program that we now know as the Cooperative Program. It was the idea of then Pastor Harvey Boyce Taylor in the early 1900s. It was adopted by the State Convention in 1915, and then 10 years later by the entire SBC, adopted what is now known as the Cooperative Program, and we honored First Baptist Murray by holding our mission board meeting there on the centennial of the Cooperative Program. And guys, I know you know the impact of the Cooperative Program. Give me your perspective on what the Cooperative Program, which I think is the greatest mission sending mechanism ever created.
I think that's exactly right, Lawrence. Everything we do revolves around cooperation, it seems, within our church, within our association, within the KBC. So it makes sense that we would combine forces with the cooperative program to affect even more. No matter how big a church is in Kentucky, it can't do more than what the cooperative program is doing as far as, sending missionaries just not only in North America, but around the world. And I love the emphasis that was put on it and the explanations and the celebration of it. I mean, 100 years of doing that. Where would we be without the cooperative program? I think I hate to think of where we would be without it, really. And I hope more churches get on board with giving to that, and not just take it upon themselves to do it, but let's all work together and do it. And there's no better, like you said, there's no better mechanism than the cooperative program.
And Chip, another example of the fact that all good things come out of Kentucky.
Exactly right. And Kentucky rightfully is proud that to say that this is the state that began the cooperative program. As you mentioned, Boyce Taylor, 1915 at Murray First Baptist started what he called the box plan. It was a plan where members would give their tithes and offerings, and it was a unified plan, a unified giving plan. It took the Southern Baptist Convention a decade later before they adopted it, so that means, guys, we were way ahead of the curve. And but it is, the beauty of it is so great because, as Jeff Orge, who was at our celebration banquet, president and CEO of Southern Baptist Convention, said, we don't have to agree on everything. There can be our differences, but we can agree that we live in a world that's their lostness is so prevalent, and if we're going to reach the lost, it has to be through a very well-organized plan, and it is to send missionaries throughout North America, but then to the ends of the earth to fulfill Revelation 7:9, to where in heaven we'll see people of every tongue, tribe, nation, and language. And I think people need to understand, too, it's not just missionaries. Cooperative program meets so many needs. All the floods and things that we've had here in Kentucky, the wildfires in the Northeast and in California, tornadoes and hurricanes, disaster relief, people. Your cooperative program dollars go to make that possible because volunteers serve, but they need resources, and the cooperative program does that. Foster children through Sunrise Children's Services, Oneida Baptist Institute, Clear Creek, our Southern Baptist seminaries. So it's a multifaceted approach, and truly we are better together, and that is certainly true of the cooperative program.
Well, it was a celebration, but it was also more. The mission board did meet and took some significant actions. Let's take them quickly one at a time. First, the KBC will be increasing support for church planting and replanting. Chip, what does that look like?
Well, as we look at the problem of lostness, the many overwhelming number of people who do not know Jesus as Savior, uh, we cannot rely just on the churches that we have now. Now, I know for people like, here I am from Princeton, Kentucky, and seem like people would say there's a church on every corner. And most of those were a Baptist church. So in some of your communities, do have a lot of churches, but there are areas of our state where there are no Southern Baptist churches. Newport, Kentucky is the example that's given, county seat of Campbell County. Not one Kentucky Baptist Convention church. There's a need to plant at least 2 to 3 churches there, but then also replanting as churches struggle to survive and face the prospect of closing their doors, where you have other churches that come alongside them and have a healthy replant. And so vital to keep those churches functioning. And if we're going to address losses, the statistics tell us that somewhere around probably, I think it's 12% of the people in Kentucky are in a Bible-believing church on a Sunday morning. Lostness is rampant. It is prevalent. We are seeing the nations come to us. Rob Patterson talked about the first meeting of an Afghan church. Now, who would have thought we would have had enough people from Afghanistan of Afghan descent in Kentucky to start church? But they have. In Bowling Green is where that church is started, and Bowling Green has so many people from other countries. They're starting Congolese churches in several different communities, and so certainly there's a great harvest awaiting us if we can get churches planted, if we can start churches that would minister to these various ethnic groups that are coming into our state.
A couple of specifics. Our support for individual church planters will increase from $30,000 to $50,000. As you said, Chip, it's important because there are many areas of Kentucky that don't have Bible witnessing, gospel witnessing churches.
Right.
And as you mentioned, Rob Patterson, the leader of our evangelism team, says the need's especially great among the state's ethnic and immigration population, which is growing. Well, as you both of you know, there are usually at least 300 churches in Kentucky without a pastor at any one time. And that's why another mission board action is important. It approved increasing funding to the Calling Out the Called Scholarship Program. Mark, explain what that scholarship's about.
Yeah, that scholarship, people that qualify, they're at a Kentucky Baptist church and a member of a Kentucky Baptist church, and they are going to one of the seminaries in Kentucky, and there's plenty of options. Most of our pastors in Kentucky are bivocational, and they need that training. They need to learn a little bit, learn some theology, learn some doctrine, and this gives them the opportunity without absolutely killing them financially. It's such a boost for these guys, and each year we've upped that a little bit because of the interest in that. And, that is going to pay dividends for us, I think, in the long run. I think we're going to see more people come to become pastors in our Kentucky Baptist churches that need it. We need it so badly. As you said, 300 churches without a pastor, and we need to start whittling that down and get these guys in the pulpit and leading these churches. There's people out there that can do it. There's no doubt. They do need education. This is a way for them to get it at a very low cost.
That's right. They must be students at Boyce College, Southern Seminary, or Clear Creek Baptist Bible College. They must be residents of Kentucky, and they must have a recommendation from a pastor, and either full-time or part-time student. That's important as well. You mentioned bivocational pastors. Yeah. So the application period for that opens up for next year in January 1st through April 15th. So we'd encourage you to, if you're in that category, to apply for one of these scholarships.
Yeah, Florence, I think it's important to notice this Calling Out the Call is an initiative that began a couple of years ago, because we have a great lack of pastors in this state. So God is the one who calls pastors, but there's more of an emphasis on calling attention to people. Is God calling you to enter the ministry? And we have seen a number of people who have responded to that call. That's people, men who are serving as deacons or as Sunday school teachers a long time. And we've seen God speak to their hearts to say, you can do more for me, and you can do it through the service as a pastor of a church.
Indeed. Well, the KBC will also be strengthening outreach and support to ethnic communities. 2 people approved for new positions. Jason Kim approved as a new multi-language church planting specialist. And Xavier McFalls, who's been our part-time campus pastor, campus minister at Kentucky State, doing a great job there. He's coming to the staff full-time and getting an expanded role to strengthen our support for KBC's African-American churches. So look forward to what Xavier McFalls is going to do there. All these moves were made, by the way, without really new spending. We're reallocating current dollars to make these moves, to prioritize these moves. So every department, every part of the KBC contributing to these new initiatives. Mark, the Mission Board also recognized a man we all love, Don Spencer, who is retiring after 48 years at the KBC, helping many, many of us with financial planning.
Yeah, he's a household name in Kentucky. Yeah. I mean, everybody knows Don Spencer, and I think he's helped every church probably that we have. I mean, if you talk to people and mention Don Spencer's name, they've probably talked to him, and he has counseled them on finances. I can tell you, even before I was connected with the KBC, I have called and talked to Don Spencer and used Don Spencer, and he makes it so clear, so easy, and so applicable to your situation, to your church. And he's taken care of so many staff people with his advice, to deacons who sometimes don't know exactly which way to go with it. He tells you the trends, the things that are working. He's just a vast person of vast knowledge and information. And wow, is he ever going to be missed by Kentucky Baptists?
Yes, we know pastors are not always numbers people. So he's the numbers guy who's helped pastors and their families for a long time now.
He's an amazing, as Todd Gray says, he's a gift to Kentucky Baptists, and I think that's a very apt description of Don Spencer.
Yeah. Yes, there's no telling how many search teams that he has helped, because you've got lay people in a church, and they don't really have any idea of how to structure pay scales and salaries within the church, and he can tell you the size of your church, what you should expect to pay someone. And his expertise is in working with search teams is just phenomenal. I know he came when I was at Southside in Princeton. This was probably 15 years ago. He came and helped our search team out. We didn't know where to start on what to pay a prospective pastor or music leader. So he is a gift, and it was when he was recognized, it was very emotional. He got a very lengthy standing ovation, and it was deservedly so. People have great appreciation for his heart, his servant heart, and he will definitely be missed.
On our, when we have the equip trainings, his sessions are always the biggest. Everybody wants to hear from him because, it's just, money's important. We all understand that, and you want to be good stewards of that money. Yeah. And but you want to take care of your staff. And I think churches sometimes, I don't know if we need to pay this guy this much or whatever. He'll tell you what it should be, and let you make the decision. He doesn't force anything on you, but he gives the best advice. And we're just going to miss him. I don't know. It's going to be a hard.
There will be a successor, but there will not be a replacement for Don Spencer. Right. That's for sure.
Amen.
And you mentioned this trip, a big banquet Monday night to celebrate the centennial of the cooperative program. We heard from two IMB missionaries, Bryce and Rachel Swan. We heard from Mike Ritchie, a layman who is a big supporter of the cooperative program and chaired our CP 100 committee, and Dr. Jeff Orge, president and CEO of the executive committee. Chip, what did you take away from that evening?
Well, it was a phenomenal evening there at the birthplace of the cooperative program. And I left, I think as everyone did, so encouraged and so thankful to be a part of something that is much bigger than all of us. And Mike Ritchie was great. Jeff Orge was great. It was great to hear from the Swan couple who talked about how the cooperative program had been such an influence. They are now IMB missionaries in Rome, Italy, and talked about how it has allowed them to stay on the field. And I think it's worth noting the beauty of the cooperative program is that these people are called to go to the ends of the earth. They don't have to spend their time trying to raise funds. Their financial needs are met, and I've heard from IMB missionaries from Zimbabwe to East Asia and other organizations, other churches where missionaries have to raise their own funds. It's a great burden upon them. This way, these missionaries can go and focus on how they're going to minister to the people in the area where they serve. I found that Jeff Orge made a great case that are Baptists united on everything? No, we have our differences, but we do come together for the sake of the gospel. And he talked about Southern Baptists are a force for good, and he enumerated about 8 different ways, and he could have gone on forever, I think, on that, about how we are a force for good, about spreading the gospel, about ministering to lost people, ministering to people who are hurting, people that have experienced great loss, and it was truly a remarkable event. I would be remiss if I did not mention Mike Ritchie's opening comment. Lawrence, you will not like this. He said there are 2 schools. There's Sunday school and there's the University of Kentucky. And he got a very rousing amen from that group in Murray, Kentucky.
Well, perhaps one day when Mike is fully sanctified, he'll become a U of L fan. So, but you're right, and that was my big takeaway. Jeff Orge reminding us that despite all the controversies that make the headlines, Southern Baptists are a force for good. I hope all Kentucky Baptists can hear that. Yes. All right. Mark, you wrote a piece this week about, speaking of good things, about a church that is putting an old building to new use.
Yeah. At High Street in Somerset, in their old sanctuary building, which was built in 1923, spruced that thing up. They have a Hispanic congregation meeting in there. They have 28 people attending, and it's going to grow. There's a pretty good population of Hispanics in the Somerset area, and they are just so excited about that, and should be. And it wasn't a, well, you guys can use that building or whatever. I mean, they put a team together, they planned for it, and they executed the plan. And it hasn't been like an overnight thing. They've worked at it, and they had the full support of the church to do that, and put this old building, and put it in a new lot, and let's reach people for Jesus. Hispanic people, this is great for them. And it's their place. It's their, it's one thing to throw somebody in the Sunday school room or a gym or a basement. No, this is their church. This is where they meet. Mm-hmm. This is their place. And I just think it's great. And congratulations to them for executing a great plan.
You also wrote about a church that has a big heart for meeting the spiritual and physical needs of its community.
Yeah, that's a New Heights New Heights Church in Middlesboro, and it started 17 years ago. And it started with their founding pastor, Mark Elkins was his name, and his thought was we need to reach into the community. And more and more churches we see are doing that and doing it successfully, and they certainly are. They have they call it a Hope Project where they have a room that's got clothes, that's got food. They feed people through the week. And for a while there, they were even sheltering people till their insurance company said, let's not do that. But they find ways to help people. And they have, Celebrate Recovery. And I know a lot of churches do that, but this is their emphasis. Their emphasis is let's reach into the community and get them to church. And, they're running 185 people in the church. The founding pastor, this Pastor Elkins, unfortunately got cancer and he passed away. But before he did, he set in place with the church elders that this associate pastor named Jonathan Neely could be the pastor, after him. And he has, just taken the baton from him, and he has led it just like Pastor Elkins would have done. They both believed in what they were doing there. And, congratulations to Jonathan for all that he's done in keeping that ball rolling and even building on it. And I think you're going to see even bigger things from that church in the future. They have plans. They have plans to expand what they've already done, and they're very determined. And they have a very determined group of people that are working at it.
And it's not just feeding, clothing, and housing people. They share the gospel.
Amen. Yeah, with everybody that comes through, you get a free meal, but you also get a gospel conversation and just to see where you are with Jesus. And you can't be fed anything better than that.
Well, guys, all of us have been in news a long time, and it's hard to believe it's been 10 years since former Rowan County Clerk Kim Davis became known worldwide after she refused to issue a marriage license to a same-sex couple. This was shortly after the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage. She's been fighting lawsuits for a decade now, and she's once again asking the Supreme Court to step in. Her attorneys with the Liberty Council want the court to decide essentially, and I'm going to read this to make sure I get it right, whether her individual First Amendment freedom of religion should protect her from civil damages, even though she was a public official. The lower courts have said Davis owes $300,000, more than that, $300,000 to the same-sex couple that she declined to serve. I interviewed David Schmidt of the Liberty Council, and he's hoping that if the Supreme Court takes this case, it could even ultimately lead to the overturning of Obergefell, which is the Supreme Court decision legalizing same-sex marriage 10 years ago. Mark, I know you covered the Kim Davis case, as did I, 10 years ago. What do you think about this?
Well, yeah, you're right. It was incredible. The case was in federal court in Ashland, where I was the editor of the newspaper, and Kim Davis was in the headlines every day for I don't know how long, for 2-3 weeks, for different things that were happening. And I think a lot of what happened in 2015 there with that ruling, it's changed the world. It's changed the United States. It's changed how people thought, and unfortunately it's changed away from Christianity. And I think it's really it was really detrimental, to be honest, to the Christian faith. And it'll be interesting to see how it's ruled on, for sure. But
it was a wild case. Yeah,
if they even take the case, right. It was a wild ride during the time that it was happening. Especially for we're a small daily newspaper in Ashland trying to cover this thing, and I saw some things, man, and I mean some media I mean, I've never seen so much media at a place at coming to Ashland and dealing with that. So it was it's certainly something we covered a lot and tried to do a good job of that and be fair and everything. But I don't know. I really think it was a turning point, though, in our nation. I do.
Chip, pretty remarkable, I think, as well. Yeah, I think you'd agree that give her credit for standing firm for 10 years.
Yes, and that, I think as we look at people and we see people who often cave in their religious principles, and she is to be applauded for standing in the gap and for being firm in her beliefs. And we believe in religious liberty. I think all of us would agree she has that right. It's a matter of conscience to her. And so I'm certainly hopeful and prayerful that Supreme Court will take that up and will give a victory to religious liberty in that case. As Mark said, look at how this world has shifted in that. And we've mentioned that on the issue of LGBTQ. So many people have spoken about that, about how you're not just and I'll say the left, the liberals want you to not just okay it, but they want you to embrace it. So thankfully, there are people like Kim Davis who are going to say this is not what I believe is God's plan, and I'm not going to support it.
Well, let's wrap up with some quick comments on several stories, guys. First, most travelers must now have a real ID. Mark or Chip, what happens if you show up for a flight without one?
Well, you're going to have to go through some other screening for sure. They're not going to just give you a pass without doing that. I don't think it's going to be impossible. I find it hard to believe that people still don't have it. They've talked about it for 4 years at least. Yeah. And people should have known the deadline. They've actually extended the deadline several times. And I know they wanted to, some wanted it to extend it a little more. Where does that end? Eventually you got to have a deadline. As we all know, in our world, it's deadline generated really. But
for now, you can get on the plane, but you'll have to go through some extra screening and security to get on without a real ID. Guys, the U of L UK basketball game is moving from December to November 11th. Big deal or no big deal?
Go ahead, Chip.
Anytime they play, it's a big deal. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that playing that early, whoever loses that game could say, well, it's so early, we're going to be a whole lot better here in another month. If we played in December, we would have probably won this ball game. I'm kind of ambivalent on it. Just whenever they play, it is a big deal. I think it will certainly generate early interest still during football season, of course, November 11th. I hate to be a naysayer, but Kentucky football has not done real well, so people be looking forward to basketball.
Well, let's talk about that, because there's also talk about maybe moving the U of L UK football game back to the beginning of the season where it started as opposed to the end. Big deal or no big deal?
I'll tell you what, my thought on that, I loved it at the first game of the year. Yeah. I thought, and what I thought it did was create interest all summer. Yeah. Kentucky playing Central Michigan or Louisville playing Eastern Kentucky or somebody, that's nothing to get excited about. Right. Playing your rival first game, that's something to get excited about. I think it's good. I think it's good for football. People are excited about football right at the first. And I think this just generates even more excitement.
I agree. The football certainly, I think, needs to be the first game of the season because, and Mark clearly pointed out the advantages to that. Basketball, I can go either way. It is early. Typically, your power teams like to pad that early schedule and get 5 or 6 wins under their belt before they really have a legitimate, contender for, or competitor. So we'll see. I'm sure whoever loses it will not like it.
That's true. That's true. We also heard about 2 big transfers from UK and U of L, where they're landing. Travis Perry, former Kentucky Mr. Basketball, going to Ole Miss. James Scott, we heard just today, former U of L forward, also going to Ole Miss. So Chris Beard is loading up down there.
He is for sure, and it will be interesting to see how much Travis plays there. I think that's why he left Kentucky. I think he saw a lot of guards that were going to be ahead of him, and he wasn't willing to keep waiting because I'm sure he felt like it was always going to be like that. They were going to over recruit at that position or whatever. And, but I will say this too, in today's world, he could end up back at Kentucky before it's all over.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Could. Yeah, Travis is such. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and I'm rooting for Travis. I mean, he seems like such a great kid. He's a Kentucky legend. No matter what he did in the 1 year he played for the Cats, he'll always be a Kentucky legend because of what he did in high school.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to watch Travis. He and his family lived in Princeton. Travis and my grandson played on the same Little League football and Little League baseball team. Travis's dad, Ryan, was the coach. I'm going to tell you what, Travis can play any sport there is. You know, he picked up golf clubs and qualified for the state tournament with not playing any. He is an incredible athlete. He's such a good kid. My wife and I both wear Travis Perry UK shirts, and we're not going to throw those away. I hope he does well. I mean, he's great family, great kid, very smart young man. He will have a great future no matter what he does in life, and I wish him the very best. I don't like the naysayers who get on social media and just start blasting him. Hopefully he's not looking at any of those things. He does not deserve that. He's a good kid. He's looking for his future. He thinks this is the best. I think he was the one who made that decision. And Mark, you're exactly right. When Florida, Aberdeen, who's going to be the starting guard for Florida and returning national championship team, when he signed with Kentucky, I think Travis, he had to evaluate what's going to be the best plan for me. And I think he thought that was Ole Miss. He'll love being in Oxford. That's a good place to go to school. I've been to ball games at Ole Miss. Years ago, when Ole Miss had a home basketball game, it was like a home game for Kentucky because everybody from Western Kentucky went to Ole Miss to see a ball game.
Well,
so he'll
having seen James Scott up close as well, I hope he also does well at Ole Miss, unless they play U of L, of course. Wrapping up quickly, Sovereignty won the Kentucky Derby, I think appropriately, judging by that name, but he's not going to run in the Preakness, and that's renewed debate about whether the Preakness should be moved, the second leg of the Triple Crown should be moved later on. It's 2 weeks after the Derby, which is pretty tough to run a horse 2 weeks after a race like the Kentucky Derby. And it's also nice to point out, we should say, and with this, that Sovereignty jockey Junior Alvarado made it a point to thank the Lord Jesus Christ after he won the Derby. So that was good to hear as well.
That was.
Well, you can see all those stories and more on Kentucky Today. You can see the latest on KentuckyToday.com. And for more on the Kentucky Baptist Convention, go to kybaptist.org. Lord willing, we'll see you next time here on the Kentucky Today podcast.